So on December the 16th on 2025, Microsoft did a tech briefing on talking about their AI apps and agent factory strategy. So in this video, I'm going to talk everything they discussed and the vision for 2026 and what you should expect and where you should focus if you're working on AI, specifically on from a Microsoft's point of view. I'll also be talking about the new product or service they introduced, which is Microsoft Foundry. Also, I'll be talking about what is the key takeaway from a different audience point of view. So things like if you're a leader, what does it mean this for 2026? For architects, developers, DevOps engineers, IT admin, security, governance, operations, professionals, as well as for product manager as well. And below this video, I'll also share the links which I've used because I've done a lot of research in last 3-4 weeks on doing, and I'll be summarizing everything that you need to know from this tech briefing. We'll also talk about some of the things that are coming in terms of a new product, which is Foundry, which is nothing but an incarnation or next version of from Microsoft's vision for AI, growing from AI Studio used to be to then AI Foundry, and then now Microsoft Foundry. We'll also talk about this whole platform architecture, and then things like control plane, a lot of other things as well. Also, a couple of new features that are coming within that Foundry from a AI, more specifically from an agentic AI point of view, including everything that you need to know and how these are. So very, very important point that you'll be learning in this video. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Atul. I have close to 2.5 decades of IT experience. These are some of the clients I've worked with, and I've gone from earning less than $100 a month back in 2000, 2001 to moving to UK in 2004-5 and earning 400, 425, 500, 700, 900 pounds a day. I also help individuals like you to now learn and upskill into AI, and that's what we're going to look at, for examples like Steve or Debashish or SJ on how you can get results like these. So with that, let's first look at on a high level overview what to expect, and then I'm going to go deeper into each role by role. So the key takeaway from that event was that Microsoft is shifting from AI based on the features to going more for on a complete governed agentic AI based platform where they're going, and that's where their vision for introducing Microsoft Foundry. So make sure that you pay special attention, especially in 2026, about Microsoft Foundry. Now, there are four main pillars on that Microsoft Foundry, which is the model or model catalog, the agents, or we call agent factory, also Foundry IQ, which is introduced new thing, and then the control plane. I'm going to go a little bit deeper towards end of this session, but the key message is if you're not learning how to build, manage, or govern AI agents, now is the time. And I'm going to, below this video, I'm going to also give you some free classes link that will help you to understand how you can build your AI agent career or how to go from knowing not much or nothing to becoming an expert in AI agent. And we're not going to just focus on Microsoft, but we'll also talk about on AWS or Google, Oracle, or in general on-premise based agents as well. So check the description below. Also, just below in the same, I'll also link or refer this document so you can look at all the related references. So if you want to go deeper on a particular topic, this is something you should highly, highly recommend you if you're working on AI agents or Microsoft Foundry, reach out and read this as well. So with that, let's look at a role point of view. I'm going to go very super high level or quick points, but you can read if you want to go a little bit deeper into each of these role specific takeaways from the event. So from a leadership point of view, now Microsoft is working now or offered this the Foundry as an end-to-end AI platform, right from data to the models to the agent to the governance and entire everything end-to-end on that single platform as well. So they've also introduced something called P3. We'll talk about P1, P2, or P3 in future videos. This is more about how do you procure these AI services as well. So Agent Factory, which is a part of with its Foundry, then with P3, then it removes the friction on how do you buy your services on AI based services as well. So the bottom line is about it's no longer if you need to scale AI, but how fast you can deploy, scale it and how safely you can scale. And that's where this Foundry comes into, or platform as a Foundry comes into picture. Now, if you look from an architect point of view, they've set the architecture or agentic architecture standards right from agents, but with that agent, the data part or data platform, including governance, observability, logging, monitoring, everything as well. So that's where you will see in Foundry, they have the model catalog or models where you can select and then thousands of models, in fact, 11,000 plus models. Also the control plane from the observability governance point of view, and then IQ from a knowledge or agentic or a RAG or more advanced RAG or knowledge base as well. So which is a reference architecture for building an enterprise AI-based applications. They've also bundled with, they have a product called Microsoft Fabric if you're working on data platform, and then Fabric had its own IQ. So merging of that data IQ or Fabric IQ with one lake, and then also within there is a Foundry IQ as well. They're merging or building these two, Foundry IQ with Fabric IQ, and including underpinning all the data coming from data lake point of, from as well. Now there are multiple model choices they've added, especially we'll see a little bit later part, including and so you have models you can pick from different vendors, and then also on top of that there's a governance point as well. There will be routing based on you pick up the best model based on your requirement. Also, they're designing right from day one, both for policy, lifecycle management, agent behavior, logging, monitoring. So entire governance part is bundled within the platform as well. So you're not, so the bottom line is that you're not managing individual agents, you're managing or you're designing, architecting, and managing a agent fleet or bundle and tons of agents together in an enterprise. Now, if you look from a developer point of view, now the Copilot is already now bundled for you as a helping you as a developer, both in terms of Microsoft Azure cloud infrastructure layer, the command line interface layer, as well as PowerShell if you're doing or developing any applications, it's all bundled. Also in my Foundry, now they've introduced Foundry IQ, which is basically simplifies your RAG or agentic RAG patterns so that you don't have to plug or connect. This all bundled available for you. Also for vector databases, they're introduced Horizon DB, which is a vector database for your knowledge base search and vector storing your vector searches or data related to vectors. Now also from a models, as you will see later, there are thousands of models that are now available for you to choose and pick. And also you don't have to worry about which model to select. There's a feature called model router that will be giving you, or it's basically giving a lot of power to developers to pick based on the behaviors, which we'll see a little bit later as well. Now, the other important point is that less gluing of altogether things together. This is all bundled and provided by Microsoft. So that's a theme that is coming again and again is about you bringing everything Microsoft is going to do. So less code, less gluing or less connecting things from a developer's point of view. It's all will be handled at a platform level. So the story is that you as a developer will be focusing more on a business logic, agent, how they're developed, and on more on a business users rather than more about you assembling or connecting. Less work on those side, but more focus on business logic as well or business outcomes. Now, for AI or machine learning engineers point of view, the Microsoft introduced in that Foundry, there's a control plane, and we'll look at the control plane a little bit later. That will give you the full management of your AI agents, fleet-wide operations, observability, monitoring, logging, security, governance, all of them in one single place. Now, they've also done, as I said earlier, Foundry IQ with that Fabric IQ. Fabric was more for a business intelligence for data point of view or for data platform. And you can leverage as a machine learning engineer, you can do or use them as well. And bottom line is that you're shifting from model centric, you're not doing solutions based on models, but you're doing more on an agentic AI centric as well. An end-to-end platform for AI or machine learning engineers to write from experiments to management, observability, governance, end-to-end system for AI machine learning engineers point of view. Now, if you look from a DevOps or MLOps or platform engineering point of view, or from their point, Microsoft Copilot is being introduced within Azure Copilot on Microsoft Azure Cloud. So that will handle all your agentic cloud-based operations. So migration, modernization, governance, including even deployment of agents on cloud. Everything will be handled by with the help of Copilot you'll be doing. Now there is another service which is called Agent 365, or we say a Microsoft Foundry agent service we'll talk about in upcoming videos more and more. So right from the whole life cycle, right from model selection to the customization, knowledge tools, orchestration, observability, trust, which is security, all those things are bundled now in that Foundry agent service. So you'll be looking more on entire unified observability management logging point of view. Also, there'll be less customization, less automation, and it's more policy driven workflows that we'll be seeing for monitoring, logging, automation, DevOps point of view. Also, they've introduced, as I said earlier, Horizon DB. So for vector search databases, so you'll be managing and maintaining. So keep an eye on that and learning that particular space point as well. And as the bottom line is that you will operate AI agents as a service, but not any more scripts. So how do you start learning AI agent as a service part as well? And with that, let's take us to the final point about IT admins, security governance side. So from a security point of view, Microsoft have three products, which is, or multiple products, but Microsoft Defender or Cloud Defender, they have Entra, Entra ID, another service, and then you have a Microsoft Purview, which is for the data governance and data security point of view. So by default, all these three things are already bundled the into this service, which is a Microsoft Foundry service as such is already bundled into this point. Now, later part, as I said, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into these points where they say role-based access control. Also, there's a new service which is in Entra Agent ID, which which should be knowing from a security point of view. I'm going to right now, as I said, I'm going to go high level right now here, but we'll go deeper into. So this whole Foundry control plane that also has all the policies, governance, security point of view all bundled, so you have a single glass of pane to look at on these points as well. So this just given a brief idea about that. For everyone, there's a big changes coming on. And with that, I forgot about product manager. So let me talk about the product management part as well. Biggest point I see the pain for the product managers which were developing a product for, or especially AI-based products, they were have to glue separately the data part or the governance part or the agent part earlier till now, but with that more and more single plane or where designing product, all three baked in right from start day one, both for agents as well as data and the data corresponding data context, governance, both as I said, security, all those things from day one from product manager point of view. We're going to go deeper into these in future videos, but this is on a high level that you need to know from a point from a each role point of view. With that, I'm going to look at and I will talk about actually now this time technical part, what's bundled. I'm going to keep it high level. I'm not going to go super technical, but I'll keep things simple from in terms of what does Microsoft Foundry means and the subcomponents on each of these key points from here. So Microsoft vision for 2026 is that the Microsoft Foundry is a strategic AI apps as well as agent factory to build your AI agents. So if you look at it a bit deeper into these four pillars of that Microsoft Foundry, first is Foundry models. This is where you list down and see all probably I think more than 11,000 they claim 11,000 plus models, right from the models from OpenAI family or Anthropic, Microsoft Phi family, as well as NVIDIA Coherence, both like third party, Microsoft's own, as well as open source models. There's a feature which we'll see a little bit later, which is a model routing, which will, rather than you picking which model based on the requirement, which model to pick and select, it will automatically pick, the model router will pick the routing based on the requirement, based on the business use cases, based on the guidelines you set in terms of costing, pricing, speed, response, a lot of those things. So the routing smart routing feature will be very useful. Then you have a Microsoft Foundry agent, or we call agent factory mix and match. This is where they've introduced Microsoft agent framework, which is based on .NET and Python. So those, and as well as a semantic kernel, Autogen. So Autogen and semantic kernel were both frameworks from Microsoft. They've introduced into Microsoft Agent Framework. You can also work with now .NET or Java, .NET or .NET based SDK or Python, which was already there earlier. They've also introduced LangChain and CrewAI related things, so you can use any of these things in when you're building, developing agents. Now, there's a new service which is Foundry IQ, which is basically enhancement for agentic RAG, so more advanced RAGs or reasoning act. They'll be also acting as a multi-source knowledge bases. It also introduced Azure AI search we already had, so it'll be using that engine behind the scene. Also, it sets the boundaries. You can restrict what data you can see or users are not allowed to see or the agents are not allowed to see a lot of those features. Then the Foundry IQ also will be leveraging, there's another service which is the Fabric IQ, so which is for database or data related things, so you can leverage those points here. Also, the most important another one which is control plane, which is for governance and security monitoring. So Azure, Microsoft Azure has a Azure Monitor, so integration of that within this control plane. Also the performance and costing tracking. Also there's a biasness hallucination that can happen in your model when results or output are done. So detection of those biasness and hallucination. Also GDPR and HIPAA compliance for your results or responses that you do. So right from model foundry, the foundry models to select the models to actually using those agents to the RAG or knowledge base agentic AI to the control plane management of those you will see as a part of this foundry. So if you want to go deeper, I think it will be worth reading and looking at some of the documents which are referred. So make sure that you check out the description below. We'll also be referring some of the free class on how to go from, as I said, AI, agentic AI from a beginner or zero to hero within 12 weeks. We'll be talking about that. With that, let's look at this Microsoft Foundry platform architecture. That's something, if you're an architect, if you're an administrator, if someone who wants to go a little bit technical, it'll be handful or wonderful for you to learn and understand. So as you see, this Microsoft Foundry, it works with a lot of development or integrated development environments, like from GitHub to Visual Studio Code to Copilot Studio. You can use pretty much any and every development environment if you're working as a developer or administrator. Now, this is the main engine of the components, which I've already mentioned models. So you have 11,000 plus models you can pick. There are other lot of model features, routing, and we'll see a little bit later on that you can access from here. This is the agent service. This is where you build and manage agents. We are going to go a little bit later, as I said, these agentic AI, what these are, Foundry agents, which we'll cover in a minute, but assume this is agent service. This is what I was talking till now. IQ for knowledge base for agentic RAG based applications, more advanced RAGs that you'll see in IQ. This is where you see all the tools to talk your with third party or within. Think of this also working with MCP, model context protocol. We'll go a little bit deeper later on this part on this video, so where you can use tools, and of course you can use machine learning, so you can train and model or use machine learning models to build. Now this all will be integrated with using MCP tools. So it's talking about model context protocol, which we'll cover in future videos. And then this is where the control plane governance, monitoring, logging, end-to-end governance that you have. So security, compliance, governance, all of them. And this is where from a security point of view, they have a Microsoft Defender, Purview, and Entra. These services being bundled, baked into the control plane for security governance point of view. So that is a high level architecture component within Microsoft Foundry. Now, again, read a little bit more from the description on this Google Doc about these, what I've mentioned, highlighted here. Now, this is us talking about that you have 11,000 plus models, right from Azure OpenAI family to DeepSeek to Grok to Mistral, Meta. All these are available for you to select from as well. Now, there's something called as model catalog and leaderboard, and you can filter. You can put in the catalog model. You can do it based on. You can filter out and do and search based on the quality, based on the safety, based on the throughput, based on the estimated cost. How these are ranked with each other in different categories as well. So you can pick, and based on that you can select and see. So benchmarking is there, and then also trade-off chart, and there's a on. For example, this is all available within a Microsoft Foundry, now available for you in model catalog. And this is where you see on left hand side quality index based on the quality, and then this is the appropriate cost, and you can filter and select which models you're going to pick. So you have data driven model selection, not based on what someone is saying. There's another feature which I mentioned earlier, model router, and this is where you will be selecting, or not you, but model router will select based on the requirement or which model to pick based on the criteria you're going to give it to, and it'll select which model to pick based on the requirement that user might give. So based on, yeah, so this is another one which is on dynamic model routing, both based on cost, latency, prompt complexity, and then you can also pick modes of routing. Again, we'll go deeper into these later part. And then also what are the impact also. So what is going to happen is when you do, you probably have a reduction of 50% latency or 85%. These are the figures that are from Microsoft side coming based on if you use these features here. Next is Foundry agent service. What that is basically a service end-to-end for registering your agents that you develop, version controlling those agents, scaling those agents, and high availability or set up a high availability for these agents. But before that, I'm going to say, if to go a little bit deeper into what these agents mean. Now, this is a AI agent on a simple terms. if you look at the center, there are three components, which is a large language model, which is nothing but these models like OpenAI or DeepSeek or Llama or other party LLMs. This is the brain of the agent that's actually doing the work. Then there are instructions and there are tools which will go and interface and talk to, for example, your RAG knowledge base, or doing some actions, or talking to the memory as well. So it basically agent takes an input and gives the output, and then these using these components. Now, when you're doing a agent, this is the end-to-end kind of as a factory that you'll be building right from selecting a model to customizing them based on your requirement. And then you'll feed it with knowledge base or tools that are required that agent is going to use to do some work. And then you have orchestration where you do workflows. We'll talk about that in future videos about these orchestrations, which I have slides. And because of the time, I'm not going deeper here. I wanted to focus on these patterns. So both agentic AI patterns, where we look at different type of patterns, as well as the orchestration, different type of orchestrations or workflows that this agent can initiate. So I'll keep it high level for now, but you do the orchestration and then go for Foundry observability and logging and monitoring, logging, tracing, etc. And then finally the security on that, of implementing the security on these services. Let me go back on here. Yeah, so role-based access control, etc., which I mentioned earlier. So this is where you'll be going. So make sure that you're familiar with this AI agent service. Now, from an agent point of view, you can build agent right for infrastructure service, which means you're doing everything together, right? Deploying these agents, you're identifying the memory and CPUs in an infrastructure environment. You also have platform as a service, which is like this is the whole Microsoft Foundry service. This is the platform that Microsoft gives you, or you can use it in SaaS-based applications using the Copilot Studio that Microsoft gives. So you have three options available for you. Again, read out more on each pros and cons of each of these as well. Now, from an SDK point of view or framework support, I've already mentioned you get Microsoft Agent Framework, and then you now have both .NET as well as Python services. They also have extending Microsoft semantic kernel as well as AutoGen, which is for multi-agent framework from Microsoft. Um, yeah. So basically, it basically combines both semantic kernel as well as AutoGen for multi-agent framework, and it also supports both. You can bring Python or C# or .NET, and it also supports MCP and agent-to-agent protocol or A2A protocols. Yeah. If you look at tools and integration layer, basically it has, or it basically supports MCP. It also do the query Azure services like Cosmos DB or SQL or Postgres. You can access these using tools and integration layer of this Foundry. You can access GitHubs, and you pull out and read documentation as well. Again, read. As I already mentioned, it also does your knowledge and retrieval through the use of, which is something IQ on Foundry IQ. So you can again extend a lot of these things. Extension have become very, very easy. You can use OneLake, which is a data lake solution from within a data platform, which is on from a Microsoft Fabric. And then you have SharePoint, MCP. Those integrations are available for you. Now, as I said earlier, so the Foundry now supports multi-agent workflows, orchestration. So all these, there's a visual workflow builder that comes in Foundry UI. We'll cover that in future videos. So you can do all these and many more workflow builders that are available. Also, like different type of roles agent can play, planner, executor, editor, reviewer. We'll go a little bit deeper into this, but have a look at this link which I've mentioned, all these orchestration frameworks which are available now for you to start implementing. So for example, here, one second. So sequential orchestration, as I said earlier, or with example, or concurrent orchestration with an example, or group chat orchestration with an example, or handoff orchestration with an examples. Also magnetic orchestration. All these links are given on this video, on this link here, so you can check it out on here. So that's multi-agent framework. Then you also have this control plane, which I've already mentioned. Pause this video, read on this document, so you'll understand a bit more about, and we could go deeper into each of these. Now, it receives, right now, some of these things are in preview mode, and I'm recording this in early 2026. So by the time you're watching, that probably might be on public or it's available for production environment. But this is where Microsoft Vision is, and that's where they're going. So all these traces are going into the observability, and it's using some of the pre-built Microsoft Azure monitoring, logging, observability features to bring you are bundled into this Microsoft Foundry control plane that you see. So all these observability features, cost tracking. So for example, end-to-end visibility on how agents have behaved, how many tokens they've used, also the costing, failure rate, if there is any failures, etc. And it's basically integrated with open telemetry based tracings. So have a read on these parts if you want to go a little bit deeper. From a security point of view, I already mentioned there's a Microsoft Defender, Purview, and there's one more service which are already integrated for you. End-to-end lifecycle management of agent lifecycle management, and there's identity. So there's a agent ID. So Microsoft Entra Agent ID. This is another service which, from a security point of view, you should pay attention. I'll cover a separate video. We go deeper into Entra Agent ID part as well. I've already mentioned this, which is about Agent Factory, which is now end-to-end this right from designing to actual uh, designing, development, deployment, security, orchestration, observability management, all those part of this Agent Factory offering that are available on this. And then finally, there's a Agent 365 service, which will let me go and give a brief overview about Agent 365. So Agent 365 is the control plane for AI agents where you will be centrally managing, deploying the agents, both Microsoft-based agents, open source framework-based agents, or the third-party platforms to deploy, organize, govern securely these AI agents. And then if you look at the agent point of view, there are five main components or things, right from registry, registry is where you have single source of truth in terms of centrally inventory of all your AI agents. You can track, manage everything from a single point of view. Then you have access control. Basically, each agent's given a unique agent ID. We'll look at in future videos about Entra agent ID and so on, and each provided the least privilege. And then you can do role-based access control, accessing the data or things that they can do, agents can do, or the type of data they can access. Also, then the visualization in terms of we can track the uses of agents, performance, costing, connections, all those things that you want to visualize within agent, they are visible to you. Also, there's an interoperability which can interface or talk to, for example, Microsoft 365 or business users, business data, all these additional systems that it can do or interoperate or talk with. And then, of course, security, as I said earlier as well, there's a Microsoft Defender for any uh, any attack against these agents. Do you have a Microsoft Entra for identity management and Purview for your data lake, or as Microsoft Purview data platform or data security platform will be leveraging and using here. So these are some of the things from a AI or Agent 365 point of view. If I look back on to another thing which I mentioned earlier as well is Horizon DB. That's something they've done a Purview for your for Horizon DB. Um, for storing your vector databases that you need to do. So this is a nutshell and a high level that I mentioned earlier about to you. If worth looking and reading this. So if you look at the simple diagram, if I were to summarize everything into one single diagram, that you have Microsoft Foundry, which is an end-to-end platform for AI apps as well as AI agents, building management on Foundry runtime as well as observability logging monitoring. That has been the scene AI Foundry, which is basically you're building your or developing your AI agents design to development part and then deployment management to the agent factory, which will be doing all CI/CD end-to-end right from all the six pillars which I mentioned about agent factory. So as I said, this is a very early stage of 2026. I'm recording this in early 2026. I'm going to go deeper into these videos on each of these components. Also, do let me know, as I said, link below this description. Also, there'll be some free classes I'll be pointing about if you want to build your career as an AI agent or Microsoft Foundry as an AI platform. If you have any feedback, any suggestions, what I could do to improve, I've just did a very impromptu video on this. So if you want to go a little bit deeper on a particular topic, any feedback that you have, any suggestions that you have, or any topic you think I've missed or should be doing, or any other references, leave a comment below this video. I read every comment. And with that, I'm going to come in next week with another video all about AI agents, Agentic AI, and what's happening in agents in 2026. This is Atul from Team K21 Academy. I'll see you next week. Till then, take care and bye for now.